We all know that in professional sports, tempers can be lost in the heat of the moment, right? Players play to win the game, and when they give everything that they've got and don't get the result that they wanted, sometimes emotions take over and get the best of them. And that's what happened in the PK shootout between FC Dallas and the Colorado Rapids in the MLS Cup Playoffs of 2006. Before we get to the shootout, we should probably take a look at how we got here because it matters. In 2006, FC Dallas owned one of the best teams in MLS and arguably one of the best teams in the franchise's history. They spent most of the season at the top of the Western Conference and was always in the Supporters' Shield race, eventually losing out to DC United by just 3 points. However, they did still take home first place in the Western Conference, beating out the next closest team, the Houston Dynamo, by 6 points. I wonder if that has anything to do with this episode. Probably, maybe. I don't know. This meant that they would match up with the fourth place finisher of the Western Conference, the Colorado Rapids, in the first round. In game one of that series, Dallas would win 2-1 after Carlos Ruiz, a name we are familiar with in this series, especially in playoff series in this series, and Abe Thompson would nab a goal apiece on either side of Terry Cook's 23rd minute equalizer. In the second round, that's when things really kicked off. The game was fast and physical from the offing, with Pablo Mastroeni seeing a yellow in the 26th minute, followed by a straight red card to number 1 overall pick, Chris Gabandi. I think he's a consensus number 10 overall of all time, isn't he? In the 29th minute, this set the tone for the... let me rephrase that. Number 1 overall pick, Chris Gabandi, saw this red card in the 29th minute, and this set the tone for the rest of the match. Early in the second half, Mr. Clutch, Carlos Ruiz, would save the day, or so they thought. In the 48th minute, Carlos Ruiz would score to give Dallas a 3-1 aggregate lead, but with a man up, the Rapids kept pushing. In the 57th minute, Nicolas Hernandez scored off a Kyle Beckerman assist to bring the score within 1. Now, a reminder, in 2006, there was no away goal rule, so Colorado just needed one more to get it to extra time. And in the 84th minute, it's that man, Nico, again, who steps up and plays hero. He gets on the end of a Jovan Kravoski, service and scores with 6 minutes to go. This would get the game to extra time. Now, just 2 minutes into extra time, Dallas think they're given the lifeline that they're needed when Clarence Goodson scores off a Greg Vanny assist. I love that we're actually getting to know the names of these players now and be like, oh, I know who that guy is. But this story, of course, would not end there because in the 114th minute of extra time, just 6 minutes from the full-time whistle, our good friend Clint Mathis, pops up in Colorado, rifles one home from 25 yards out to send the game to penalties. And even after all of that excitement, we haven't even started the fun part. This is where the fun part begins. The first 3 PKs for each team are converted until current LA Galaxy manager Greg Vanny misses his shot completely off the frame of the goal. Both Kyle Beckerman and Simo Valakari score their penalties, meaning the game falls on the shoulders of Real Madrid and Athletic Bilbao legend Aitor Karanka. Now, you'd think Aitor Karanka, he could do it at the Bernabeu. He could do it at the Camp Nou. But could he do it on a cold, rainy night in Colorado? The answer is no. He steps up and Dario Sala makes the save to send it into the next round, which means the next shooter has the chance to keep this going and give Dallas a step above in the shootout order. Who's the next shooter up? None other than Dario Sala himself. The goalkeeper steps up in the 6th spot of the penalty kick shootout, stares down his target, and sees it saved by Joe Cannon as he dives to his right-hand side. Pablo Mastroeni steps up to the spot for Colorado and tucks it away to win the game for the Colorado Rapids and advance to the next round of the MLS Cup Playoffs. And yet, we still haven't gotten to the fun part. I know. At the end of the game, the Colorado Rapids players were celebrating their victory, and some of these players were allegedly taunting FC Dallas fans, including the Inferno supporters group. Dario Sala, long known as a man with passion who wears his heart on his sleeve no matter what club he plays for, took exception to this. When he saw his own supporters being taunted, he went to confront the Rapids player. In the South End, a scuffle broke out, and while there isn't any video that I can find out, the best breakdown of the incident that I can give based off of written reports is this. Rapids players are taunting Dallas fans in the away end after beating them in PKs. Dario Sala goes over and throws 2 punches to the back of the head of Hunter Freeman and Jovan Kravosk. The latter of which was cited as saying, "He punched me from the back, the coward. I was minding my own business and he came at me. It's a disgrace and they should fine him." Now, of course, there is a guy who's involved in this, who's involved in basically every scuffle known to man, our good friend Mike Petke. Mike Petke saw this going on as a player for Colorado at the time and would not miss out on any of the fun. He came to the defense of his teammates with boots flying through the air, jump kicking at anybody who he could find in a red shirt. All in the manner, of course, to protect his boys. From here, the crowd dies down and the teams go their separate ways. At the end of the day, red cards, penalty shootouts, goalkeeper misses, and all, and massive fight altogether. Sala was suspended 6 games into the 2007 season and fined $3,500, roughly a week and a half's worth of pay. Meanwhile, Mike Petke was also slapped with a $500 fine. And while he may have missed some games in the next year and the shot that would have kept the shootout alive, Dario Sala earned himself a special place in the hearts of FC Dallas supporters on the day, coming to their defense as the Colorado Rapids fans thought they could get away with something silly.
Hearing like the amount that Mike Petke was fined for it, it's just so funny when you think about how much players are fined nowadays. I feel like nowadays it's like it could be like 10,000, 15,000 even. And it was like $500 for Mike Petke. I'm sure he would gladly slap plenty of players in the league for $500.
That's exactly what I thought. I go 500. He would have connected and paid a little bit more if that was the case.
Yeah, I think if he had the assurances that it would be $500 every time, I think he would have had a lot more fines over his career. A lot more people slapped as well.
Yeah, but again, you got to remember, I guess, what the salaries were then. It is probably a little bit more, but
yeah.
I think the inflation
it might be similar.
Sure, but I still think the inflation of the fine versus how much people are getting paid these days, I think they still would have gotten away with it.
Oh, if it were $500 nowadays, it'd be like,
oh my God,
it would just be UFC out there, I'm sure.
I say Petke would come out of retirement just to smack a couple guys up.
I'm sure he wouldn't be the only one that would come out of retirement.